Once the incident action plan is approved, responders must be briefed for the next operational period. The operational period briefing is when all tactical supervisors for the upcoming operational period come together to receive a copy of the incident action plan and get the instructions for their assignments. Other important information may include a weather forecast, safety information, and logistical support information. More detailed briefings by tactical supervisors to their assigned personnel should take place after this general briefing. The operations briefing occurs slightly before the operational period begins and is attended by all of the tactical supervisors for that particular operational period. Typically, at least the Command and General Staff has an opportunity to present information as necessary to the folks that are deploying. The purpose of the briefing is to ensure that all the division and group supervisors are getting the same message at the same time from the right person.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's 1700. I'm George Dotlow, your Planning Section Chief for the Sun Cruise incident. I'd like to bring the operations brief to order. First thing I'd like to do is a quick roll call, and I'm going to start with our incident commanders.
Lieutenant Commander Brad Nelson, Incident Commander, U.S. Coast Guard.
Captain Holridge, Sun Cruise, Incident Commander.
Jim Allister, State of Delaware, Incident Commander.
Sam Watkins, Public Information Officer, U.S. Coast Guard.
J.W. Baldwin, U.S. Coast Guard, Safety Officer.
Lieutenant Marty Sheen, U.S. Coast Guard, Liaison Officer.
MST-1 Gray, U.S. Coast Guard, Division A Supervisor.
Lieutenant Alexis Hyatt-Port Fire Department.
Senior Chief Radcliffe, U.S. Coast Guard, Oil Recovery Group 2.
Emery 3 Dunn, standing in for Senior Chief Hawk as the on-water safety supervisor.
Lieutenant Montour, Operations Section Chief from the Coast Guard.
The Communications Unit Leader, Jolene Barnes.
Pat Gill, Sun Cruise, Logistics Section Chief.
Bob Klink, Finance, Coast Guard.
Fred Gaines, Documentation, Coast Guard.
Kevin Martin, Situation Unit Leader, Coast Guard.
All right, it looks like we're missing some of our division group supervisors and maybe the staging area manager, but we'll deal with that a little bit later in the briefing. We've got some ground rules here. We've got an agenda that we're going to follow. Let's keep our sidebar conversations to a minimum so we can get through the briefing quickly. One speaker at a time. Silence all your electronics if you've got some on you. No texting. And let's move on to the objectives. The objectives we're going to be following for the operational period coming up. First one, continue firefighting, ensure the spaces are clear to the fire hazard. Second is conduct a damage stability assessment and develop a salvage plan. Determine the oil spill fate and effect, identify threat and environmentally sensitive areas, develop strategies for protection, and conduct a pre-impact shore debris removal. Establish shoreline security to coincide with the pre-impact assessment of the sensitive areas. Continue to enforce an on-water safety zone. Contain source of the oil spill and prepare to remove spilled oil, and conduct an investigation into the cause of the incident. There are no pen and ink changes to the incident action plan at this time. At this point, I'd like to ask Command for their opening remarks.
Sure thing. On behalf of the Unified Command, I just want to thank everyone for all their outstanding efforts thus far. To help facilitate those efforts, the Unified Command has agreed to keep one Unified Commander available in the incident command post at all times. If any concerns or issues arise, please bring it to the attention of that Unified Commander on duty, and we'll coordinate with the other Unified Command to help make decisions and facilitate all of your efforts. Again, I just want to say thank you. Keep up the hard work, stay safe, and most importantly, continue to support the folks in the field. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Command. Next, Situation Unit Leader is going to give us an update on where we are with the incident.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you that are just arriving with us, situation that we have is that shortly after 4 this morning, the motor vessel Sun Cruise hit a partially submerged cargo container in the entrance to Hyatt-Port. They apparently holed themselves, and the water intrusion into the vessel caused a fire. The fire started somewhere below the secondary muster station, has spread to the engine room, so we expect that there's a lot of damage in the engine room spaces. Right now the vessel continues to smolder. We haven't had much opportunity to get below decks, but we think the fire is still burning in the engine room. This afternoon we had a squall come through. The vessel had its anchors out and was slightly inside the channel. When the squall came through, they fouled their anchors and they're now aground just outside of the navigational channel. All of the passengers and crew have been evacuated from the ship, and everybody is accounted for. Fortunately, we didn't have any loss of life. Right now we have a 1-mile safety zone established around the incident scene. That's part of what I think the on-water safety group will be doing. There's also a temporary flight restriction in place to keep aircraft out of the area so that we can facilitate using helicopters in the incident effort. For weather, we have a slight breeze out of the southeast. Seas are expected to be about 1 to 2 feet during the evening. Air temperatures are going to be in the low 60s. There is a chance of thunderstorms which may impact the response operations, and that may be a safety hazard for the people on board the vessel. And right now we're transitioning really from the search and rescue effort to the firefighting and salvage and the environmental response. Any questions? Thank you.
All right, we'll have situations stick around, so if any of the division group supervisors have questions after the brief, you can touch base with them. At this point, I'd like to ask operations to present their plan.
All right, outstanding. Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank all the operational folks and the incident management team. It's going really well out there. We've had a lot of successes so far. I do want to report to all the oncoming personnel that the search and rescue has been complete with full accountability and no loss of life, so that was a good report. Like we've already heard, the fire, it has been mitigated. It's mostly smoldering at this point, so we're just going to be doing overhaul and keeping an eye on that fire. Some other things I want to ask you, just generally from the division supervisors and group supervisors going out there. I'd like a 3-hour report from you going to my deputy operations section chief, except for the firefighting and salvage group. Firefighting and salvage group would like an hourly report to the deputy operations section chief. A lot of you have your incident action plan in front of you. I'd like to go to your ICS 204 at this point and talk about some of your work assignments. To let all of you know, there will be a staging area and a staging area manager. I will have assets staged in the staging area for contingencies. So if we identify more product, we have an emergency, have to do an emergency evacuation, these resources will be staged to have a 5-minute deployment. We did have that squall that came through yesterday, so we have to be aware of the safety issues out there, especially with our operational personnel. Like the Length Logistics, they also put a repeater out there, so we're also able to talk to the operational personnel that are on the vessel a lot easier. I'd like to start first ICS 204 with, I think it'll be Mr. Alexis from the fire department. You'll be the firefighting and salvage group supervisor. We've never worked together before, so I'd like to look at our 204 a little bit more in depth so that we know that we're on the same page. Most importantly, we're going to assign you an assistant safety officer. The assistant safety officer is empowered to stop operations if they identify them unsafe. They'll coordinate with you, and if we have any of those unsafe operations and have to stop any kind of work items, they'll go ahead and they'll notify me as well and the deputy. So we'll make sure that we're coordinating that. You're going to have what's called a CERT team with you. That's a salvage engineering response team. They'll be going on board to do assessments to help the planning section chief so we can identify salvaging the vessel once that fire is completely out. You have a couple of your fire department crews with you. You have 2 of those with you, and you also have 2 salvage boats underneath you. I'd like you to assign some firefighting teams to extinguish any fires that pop up and continue doing overhaul, and then report, like I said, to the deputy operations section chief on an hourly basis. Assign those CERT members as you see fit and as you see safe so they can do their assessment of that vessel so we can get that information to planning so that we get a plan in place.
All right.
Do you have any questions regarding your ICS 204?
No, sir. We can do that. I think it won't be a problem this period. We have put a lot of water on the vessel, so stability might be an issue. I did talk to the crew out on scene, and they said they got beat up pretty bad when the squall came through. So if I could, I'd like to get hourly weather reports with at least a half-hour notice if any squall's coming.
Let's talk to the deputy about that. We can also touch base with the situation unit leader. On that note,
Yes, sir.
The situation unit leader will have field observers out there, so please work with those field observers if you could. Provide them information, because that information is going to assist us with our tactical planning for the next operational period. All right, I'd like to tell you there is an investigation group out there. They will be conducting an investigation when they get here and it's safe to get on board. I don't think they're going to get on board today, but they will be conducting chemical testing. So you will have another colleague working with you. If we can move on. Division A, I think we have Petty Officer Gray. Outstanding. Petty Officer Gray, you're going to have a shoreline cleanup assessment team with you. You're also going to have 2 cleanup teams from the state. You see that? And you also have 2 police departments. So on top of the assessment of the environmental impact, you're also going to have some safety and security issues on land. That way we don't have people trying to access our incident area responsibility. Have your shoreline cleanup assessment teams assess the volume of work to be performed on that shoreline and make sure that they're clearly marking that and identifying what work assignments we're going to need to do to mitigate any possible impact. Use your hand crews to do any kind of pre-impact cleanup. So if we can remove debris or anything from the shoreline prior to the impact of the product, that would help us out later. Special equipment, you're going to have some 4-wheel drive vehicles, some 4-wheelers, shovels, rakes, and so on. And it's very important that you have work-rest ratio out there. You know, the heat's not too bad at this point, but let's still do a 15 minutes of work and 10 minutes of rest if you could with your folks. Any questions regarding your division?
We're getting equipment from staging now. What would you like us to do with the debris that we collect?
Any debris, let's get it on the shore in an area that we can access it, and then we'll coordinate, or you can coordinate with the deputy, and we'll get that picked up for you. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's see, on-water safety group, that'd be Mr. Bach.
Senior Chief's actually getting ready to get underway, sir, so I'm actually filling in for him.
All right, so you're able to pass information to him?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go over this fairly in-depthly. You do have a helicopter assigned to you that we need to coordinate with. That way that they can do any assessments for you. You may even utilize that helicopter for other things. There's 2 crews assigned to that helicopter, so we're going to need to coordinate their rest as well and whatever's appropriate. You have the Coast Guard cutter Sapelo. They'll be actually your patrol commander, so you'll be coordinating a lot of vessel movement and personnel movement with them. You have a 47 with you, and then 2 Coast Guard law enforcement crews. We're going to have you assign resources to enforce a 1-mile security zone around the vessel on a 24/7 basis. Use your LE crews. Let's do 6-hour shifts with them on board that 47-foot boat. And then any kind of contact vessels you have, let's try to get as much information as we can and then report any violations directly to the Deputy Operations Section Chief.
Yes, sir.
Any questions regarding your group?
No, sir. Senior said he'd be coordinating with the Coast Guard cutter Sapelo, and obviously they'll be the patrol commander. Okay. And I also understand we'll be on standby for evacuating personnel if necessary.
Absolutely. You have the surface assets, so if we need to do any kind of evacuation, we could probably talk offline with our firefighting and salvage group to see how we want to coordinate and probably get up with safety as well. Let's see here. We have the investigation group I told you. They'll be conducting their chemical testing today. The last one I have is the oil recovery group, which should be Mr. Radcliffe.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Senior Chief. How are you? Good. We've worked together before. Same drill we have all the time, you know, unfortunately. We got product on the water. We have some resources. Once you do some shoreline booming, some deflection booming, protect that shoreline. It's imperative. I need the product to not hit the shoreline, so you're tasked with that. And you do have some skimmers assigned to you, so if we have any recovery that needs done on water, let's go ahead and take care of that, Senior Chief.
No problem. We're going to try and keep the oil as close to the vessel as possible. With the projected trajectory, though, I'm a little concerned. We need to start planning a booming strategy for Haynes Point and the shoreline to the north. I went over the ACP, the Area Contingency Plan, and I didn't see a protection strategy already established for that area.
All right, we'll dig in that Area Contingency Plan a little further. Maybe we could even talk to planning, see if we can get anything out of planning, and move forward with that.
Aye, sir.
All right, safety is our #1 priority, so let's keep our folks safe out there. Like I said, if you have any major changes in operations that are going to change any strategies or tactics or even change objectives, we need to be notified of that immediately. All right, thanks.
All right, thanks, Ops. Now we're going to go to the Command and General Staff and get a few comments from them before we adjourn the meeting, and we're going to start with logistics.
Good afternoon once again. Transportation for all your personnel is going to be available in the staging area. In addition to transportation, we're going to have plenty of water and snacks for you to take with you throughout the evening. We're going to have box lunches delivered to you tonight, approximately 2,300 or so. Let us know by about 2030 where you want those delivered so that we can assure delivery of that. Make sure you review your ICS 204s, especially Block 9, and keep a copy of the comms plan with you throughout your work area tonight. And I want everyone to check with my communications unit leader before you go so we have a good radio test and to address any last-minute communications problems. Also be familiar with the ICS 206, the medical plan, in case we have any issues there. If you need any additional resources, go up your normal chain through Deputy Ops. He'll coordinate with both resources and supply to get you the resources you need out there. Any questions for logistics?
All right, thanks, Logs. Comms, did you have anything you wanted to add before we move on?
I would, sir. Hey, good evening. I just want to let you guys know I've been working with some of my counterparts to maintain sort of an air-to-ground frequency. It's still coming. I'm going to get a way for you to speak to helicopters if you're using them. But for right now, we're going to have to relay through the command center. Like Logistics said, if you keep the 205 on you, all of your radios are programmed with these channels, so you have access to all of them. If you determine out there today that you're stepping all over each other, just give me a yell as soon as possible. I'll be in a staging area most of the day, so you can get me on channel 3, and let me know, and I'll put some additional channels so that we can talk to each other without stepping on each other. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Comms. Finance?
Good day. Please make sure your folks signing in and out of every place they go is just as important for our state and local folks as well. Thanks.
All right, next we're going to move on to public information.
Okay, good evening. There's going to be some members of the media visiting throughout the night, and all approved visitors will be escorted, and we'll have a badge from and be escorted with someone from the Joint Information Center. So if you have a question as to who's out there, or if they're supposed to be there, or if somebody starts asking questions, make sure that that you give us a call, and our number is on your 204.
All right, liaisons next.
All right, hey, good evening, everybody. Just a reminder, if you have any issues with your assisting and cooperating agencies that bring up any problems with overtime, work rest ratios, or shift changes, and any possible union rules, just get in touch with me. The best way to get in touch with me is to use the contact information for command at the bottom of your ICS 204, or you can find my number there on the ICS 205 comms plan.
All right, thanks, liaison, and safety.
All right, good evening, everyone. I just want to say it's good to hear we've had no injuries so far. We want to keep it that way, but the work that you're going to be doing is inherently dangerous, so keep an eye on your crews, make sure they're working safely, that they're wearing the appropriate PPE. If they don't have it, they can get it from supply before they check out here. With regard to injuries, make sure that they understand proper notification up the chain of command of an injury and seek medical attention. If it's something beyond minor first aid, have them refer to the medical plan. It's got the emergency information on what to do and who to get in contact for that. As Op said, we want to stay hydrated. Although the weather's kind of mild right now, the work that you're doing, the clothes you're wearing is still going to dehydrate you, so keep your folks hydrated, make sure they're wearing the proper sunscreen, things like that. We do have a chance of possibly thunderstorms again, so be aware of the weather conditions, as somebody had asked about. If need be, weather gets bad, seek shelter, get off the water, things like that. Additionally, or finally, make sure to review your safety plan and your medical plan. Okay? Thank you.
All right, thanks, safety. Before we begin to wrap this up, Divs, do you all have any other questions, comments, concerns? No, sir. No? Okay. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Command for some closing comments.
On behalf of the Unified Command, I want to commend every one of you for the efforts we've had during the Sun Cruise incident. Just emphasize some of our priorities: safety and health of involved persons, the environment, restoration of transportation infrastructure and property. All of you have done an awesome job. Thank you for your efforts. Be safe. We support you, and we'll take care of this slowly and safely. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Command. At this point, I'd like to adjourn the meeting, and let's get to work.